Hey guys, just finished up at the gym and thought I would park up this time for a little bit of a chat. I'm trying to get the audio working. I've got this little microphone here now. I think that I yell too much when I'm attempting to communicate, and so it can get a bit bad. So I'll try to maintain an even keel here as we go. So I want to talk about a few things that all kind of interrelate. So progression, quality, which is a word that I've been using and I'm still working out exactly what I mean by that. Progression, quality, I think that's really what we need to talk about for now. So I've been watching YouTube videos, fitness for quite a while. There's a lot of great channels out there. There's a lot of great content. However, a lot of these guys, if you hear their story, they have been training for a lot of years. So particularly the content that they put out now, you know, if they say how long they've been doing this, it's over 10 years, right? I haven't been doing this for that amount of time. I've only been doing this for a couple of years. And I really did not have any sort of an athletic background prior to getting started with this at all. I played a few years of AFL growing up, which is Aussie rules football. And for anybody who might not know, and I wasn't very good at that, to be completely honest. So I've really only just started making good progress that I'm happy with in the last little while, especially at the gym, right? So, and I think that some of the advice that's out there from the guys who've been doing this a long time, it's not that it's wrong, you know, I do think that they include all of the correct information. I just think that the emphasis it can be slightly misplaced for those people who are on the cusp of being intermediate lifters. And in particular, I think that the progression schemes get us into trouble. So what are our options, right? Well, we've got linear progression where we just attempt to add weight to the bar, or to the stack or to the dumbbell or whatever we're using. Attempt to add weight to the bar every session, right, or every workout. Okay, you'll get a certain distance doing that, sure. There's some sort of double progression where, in addition to attempting to progress with weight, you also attempt to progress with reps. So you might say that you're doing 12 to 15 reps. You start off at 12 with a given weight. Each week you add reps to your sets, and once you can do 15, then you add weight to the sets. That is a very reasonable progression scheme. I really think that works very well for advanced lifters, right? Because they all talk about it. One I've heard recently is the rep goal system. I heard about this from Basement Bodybuilding, and he heard it, I think, from Steve Shaw. So in this one, you're not so much concerned with the outcome of how many reps in any particular set, but you're worried about the number of reps that you get that you're able to achieve over a fixed number of sets, as I understand it. I might be getting that wrong. All of that is talking about sets, reps, and weight. And that's great. Those are variables that describe a set, right? A set will have a certain number of reps, and it will be performed with a certain amount of weight. However, and this is particularly true for people who are beginners, early intermediates, moderate intermediates. I suspect it's true for advanced lifters in a way as well, although not as significant. It's your quality of your reps. It's a variable, actually. You can at times use more weight at the sacrifice of good quality. Now, how do we measure quality, and how do we know that we're doing that, and those sorts of things, I think, are valid questions, and I've got some thoughts on that I'd like to talk through with you guys. And this is why I say that elite lifters, they're not saying anything wrong. They do say that all of your reps should look the same, but that is not really within your power if you're an early if you're young in your training career. We're still learning. It takes a while to build that mind-muscle connection. Man, the amount of back work that I had to do to be able to feel my lats, and I'm still getting a feel for the different muscles in my upper back, right? And there's some muscles that I can't even sort of flex properly on command, right? So this idea that I'm going to make all of my reps be executed exactly the same, it's a great ideal, but we should realize that actually as you're progressing through your training program, your quality is going to improve, and it can affect the way that you use the weights in interesting ways. So I'll give a concrete example. When I was in the gym today, I was hitting cable flies. So I'm trying to develop my chest. That's the point. I do some incline bench to target my forward delts, my anterior delts. So all I'm looking to get out of these cable flyers is chest work. That being said, I take quite a slow tempo on my reps, and that means that by the end of the set, I'm really feeling the burn in whichever muscle I've been working. And so I know that I'm getting a lot of anterior delt in my chest flies because that sucker's burning. Well, on one hand, that's great because that's going to help me to build a mind-muscle connection with that muscle. On the other hand, it means that I can improve the quality of the reps that I'm doing on that exercise. I can tighten my form up in such a way that I am really getting dialed in on the pec. And that could mean that I, over time, end up having to move up on weight. It might be the case that I work out a way of performing that exercise where I have got something right about the cable height, I've got something right about the rotation of my shoulders, and it's just all pec. And it might be the case that I need to go down in weight in order to perform the exercise that way because now it's at a higher quality. And if you don't accept quality as a progression variable, it's tempting to think, well, he's gone down in weight, he's going to get less results. He's moving in the wrong direction. But it's not that. It's not the case at all. If you focus on quality, the results will come. You do have to do hard sets. What that means to you, I think, depends on your ability to tolerate fatigue over the course of the week. For myself, I cannot take that many sets to failure in a week. So hard sets for me means a couple of reps in reserve, but I'm sure I'll talk about that another time anyway. I want to talk about taking quality progression as a progression scheme and what that might look like. And I do think that in a way, this is just a restating of some things that are implicit in other people's progression schemes. But it is clarifying, I think, to point out that progression is a variable. Okay, so I want to go in and do an exercise for 15 reps. I've decided that for this exercise, a good amount of reps is around about 15 because I really want to get, a good pump. I don't want to stress the joints too much, whatever my reasons happen to be. What I want to do when I'm selecting a weight for that exercise is to select the weight that allows me to achieve the greatest quality for those 15 reps. And that means that I'm getting a full stretch in the extended position, and I'm getting a good squeeze in the contracted position. And if I get that on every rep, and I start to really feel a burn, I start to really get a pump, and at the end of the 15, I can say, yeah, that set was hard. Then I have selected a good weight. I've selected a good amount of weight for that set. And what I want to do week on week is to continue to focus on quality. So when I'm doing my reps, can I get into more of a stretched position? Because actually, as you do this, you'll find that where the stretch position is changes a little bit. So you're going to have to keep playing around with that to keep finding the stretch position and keep finding the squeeze position. And it might be the case that you're recruiting additional muscles in that exercise. It's not your intention. And you work out how to avoid that, right? You work out how to take those muscles out. Well, as you do that, the weight will become too heavy because you're using less muscle. So the weight will become too heavy, and then you will no longer be able to do quality on those sets. That means that you have to select a new weight. And in that case, if you've gotten better at your technique, if you've gotten better at isolating, that means that you need to adjust your weight down until you find a point where you can do your rep target for that many reps with good quality on every rep. Conversely, it can be the case that you really do grow the muscle and your technique is already pretty dialed in, or at least it's not improving at the moment. And what that will mean is that over time, the weight that you're using will no longer be sufficient. It will mean that when you're in the stretch position, you're not really feeling the stretch anymore, and it's because you're not holding on to enough weight. And when you're in the contracted position, you're not feeling the same squeeze because the weight is now too light for you. And when you get to the end of the set, you're no longer thinking that that was a hard set. You're feeling, hey, I didn't really feel anything for that set. So in that case, again, the quality has left the set. The quality it's an internal thing, right? It's something that you have to introspect while you're doing your set to say, am I feeling this in the way that I should be? And if you are feeling it in the way that you should be, then that's a quality set. And if you're not feeling it in the way that you should be, then you need to do something with the weight, right? And it can be to move the weight up, and it can be to move the weight down. And I think that that's really important to point out for people who are beginners and intermediates, because if you're progressing on your technique, if you're progressing on the number of reps, if you're progressing on the number of weight, if you're trying to push all of those things constantly, what's going to happen is that you're going to burn out. You're just going to run out of gas for that particular block. You're going to have to take time off, and what that costs you is consistency. It makes it harder to get back in there, and that's going to be an issue for you in the long run. So what quality progression really supports achieving is, as a beginner, as an intermediate, learning about your body, developing a strong connection with your muscles, focusing first and foremost on technique, and the weight is really just used to support achieving what you're your goal is with the technique and with that set in terms of the number of reps that you want to do. I think that is basically everything that I've got to say about it. I really do think that the mind-muscle connection thing it's a little bit underrated at the moment. I think that the pump is underrated. I think that feeling a burn is underrated. If you do sets with really good form, those reps take a long time, all right? You accumulate a lot of time under tension. Now, I don't think that there's anything magical about time under tension from a growth perspective, but man, there is something magical about it from a mind-muscle connection perspective. When you really feel the burn, which you do if you're doing a set with a lot of time under tension, that is how you learn to feel that muscle. That is how you learn the difference between feeling your tricep in the long head and the medial head. If you're going to develop that connection, the only way that you're going to do it is by giving yourself a stimulus that you can really feel. So longer sets with focus on quality helps you to achieve that connection with the muscle. And that is what helps you to grow the muscle without using as much weight, without accumulating as much fatigue. So you're going to be able to be in the gym more. You're going to be able to hit more sets. It's going to be higher quality. That is, I think, for me at least, it has been, that's the key to make progress as an intermediate. That's the key to start taking the step towards becoming advanced. Now, maybe once you get there, right, once you're dialed in on technique, then it doesn't really make sense to treat quality as a variable anymore. If it becomes fixed, if it's the same quality for every rep and every set, then it's no longer a variable. It's something that's fixed. In which case, sure, look at your double progression or your rep goal system or whatever it is. But if you're like me, if you're in the first couple of years, then quality does change. And that means that it is a variable. And that means that it's something that we have to think about. And when we're programming progression, that means advancing on our variables. And the most important variable, in my opinion, to make progress on is quality, because that is how you unlock the connection to your body. That is how you unlock the mind-muscle connection and the ability to get a good stimulus without creating a whole heap of muscle damage and tendon fatigue and all of that stuff. All right, you can brute force it, use a lot of weight. If that works for you, if you can just beat yourself up, don't listen to me. If you're someone who you can go in and do 50 sets in a workout and you can do that 6 days a week, just go and do that, mate. More power to you. If you're like me and you get burned out with too much work, give this a go. It's another way of thinking about it. All right. I'm losing my voice, so that means it's time to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.